My mom sends me a picture of me as a baby. It's one I've never seen before. I'm sitting in my dad's lap. My body is facing him, but I'm looking in the other direction. I'm kind of pushing myself up and away from him. In my left hand, I've snatched the glasses off his face, and in his eyes, you see all the love that's supposed to be there when a father is looking at his child. I don't know what to do with this picture. There's this sweetness about it that I just don't connect with my childhood. My dad was an artist. It's not what he did for a living, but it was his passion. His studio is also his bedroom. My parents didn't share a room ever since the day I was born. In this room, there are easels and canvases and wooden palettes, with a thumb hole in them, the kind that show up for every Google image search for artist. Whenever he lets me into this sacred space, the first thing that I do is take in the smells. I love the smell of his paint commingled with turpentine. He works in oils, and they come in these tubes, which he doesn't always let me handle because my little fingers either can't squeeze hard enough and only the oil drips out, or they squeeze too much and the tube just vomits an excessive amount of color onto his palette. But he tells me to just slow down, focus, and when I take it slow enough, I can apply just the right amount of pressure to expel just the right amount of color on that palette. Take the spatula, clean off the end, cap back on tube, tube back into place, rag to spatula, and onto the next color. Always start with the light to the dark. Never start with the dark because the dark can contaminate the light. It's a very specific methodology. It's ordered. It's ritualistic. He never does anything with these paintings. He never sells them, as far as I know. They hang all over my childhood home in the Philippines, a train-like house with a long hallway lined with his artwork in ornate frames, but none so ornate that your eyes will be detracted from the prize in the middle. But more than my eyes, I think it's my hands that love his paintings. They're thick, they're textured. It's a tactile experience. He paints in these globs that leave just the trace of the hairs of his brushes, always ending in that upward stroke. Always end your stroke upwards, he tells me. He usually paints scenes, European streets with indistinct figures in motion, but the one that I remember the most vividly is not one that ever made it to our walls. It's that of a single woman sitting on her knees in this field of green. He has taken such care to specify every single blade of grass that you can almost feel that warm wind blowing them. I know it's warm because she's totally naked and she looks really comfortable. She sits there so gracefully, and I think I want to sit graciously like that when I get older. He's got her propped up on this easel. I'm 5, maybe 6. She is fair-skinned with long, dark, wavy hair, and her breasts, her bare breasts, are magnificent. They are just the perfect size, not too big, perfectly shaped, nipples perfectly centered. I want my boobs to look like that when I get older. From between her thighs, you see her bush, which she must trim because they don't look wiry and explosive like my mom's. I want my bush to look like that when I get older. This is my girlfriend, he says to me, just as a matter of fact. I wonder, which one? My dad has had so many queridas, so many mistresses, but I've never met one before. I wonder if it's Mercedes. That's the name that I have heard the most from my mom. I don't know what Mercedes has done, but she has earned a special fury in my mom's hell. There is a Filipino dessert called brazo de Mercedes, meaning arm of Mercedes. It doesn't sound delicious, but neither do lady fingers. It's my favorite, but I don't know that that's its real name until I go into a bakery and order up a slice of brazo de bruja, arm of the witch, because that's what my mom told me it was called. This is my girlfriend. Do you want to be my girlfriend? he asks, just as a matter of fact. I don't understand this question. I'm his daughter, I'm the baby, I'm the queen, as he likes to call me, I'm the favorite, as my brother likes to remind me. I don't think I can add girlfriend to that list. So as I honestly contemplate what my answer should be, the room just suddenly shifts, rotating to the right. Everything moves with it except me. I stand in that same spot, or rather, a part of me does, because I'm just watching it all play out. There I am, looking up at my dad, holding his brush next to his querida. And above us are the words that are his question, and suddenly, like rain softly separating from the clouds, his intention, his meaning falls onto my chest softly, resonating stronger and louder than any of those words above our heads. And it doesn't make me run, it doesn't make me feel scared, it doesn't feel wrong. My dad is an artist, and he can choose the right colors to put on a canvas, but he can't choose the right words to come out of his mouth. I never come up with an answer. He never forces one. He never forces anything like that on me. He just turns and goes back to his querida. I go back into my body, unsure that my answer was actually going to be no. He begins to paint less and less as we move ourselves back to the States, where we will no longer live under the same roof. I pull away more and more. Then one day, a package is dropped off by my father to my high school, delivered to me in my French class by the assistant dean. The girls all watch as I excitedly rip open the seal off of that 8.5 white envelope filled with papers and anticipation, and I pull out divorce papers. No note, but I don't really need one. I know who these are supposed to go to. I just don't understand why he's chosen them to go through me. And I just wish he was in that room with me. I wish I could make the room shift again and rotate to the right so that I could watch it play out and see his actions above our heads and find out what was going to fall on my 16-year-old chest so that I could say, again, my dad, the artist, doesn't have the words, but in painting me as messenger, he's just trying to stay connected. I didn't inherit my dad's artistry with paint, so I take my pen to paper and I write a letter, and I try to convey this image of a girl who still needs her daddy, no matter how broken, no matter how flawed, but I squeeze the tubes too tightly and I vomit too much on the page by simply just saying, "Do you still want to be my dad?" He never comes up with an answer. I can't force one because he's gone back to the Philippines, back to yet another querida. And I go back to wanting to be that woman in the painting. But since he's gone, I have to find a replacement. And I make sure he resembles my dad as much as possible. 20-something years my senior, an authority figure, my college professor with a wife and kids at home, an artist of a different sort, a dancer who uses his body as a brush, and I let his body paint me into a querida. It's not quite as beautiful as I thought it would be. There's no grass underneath my legs. There's no warm breeze. It's just me sitting there alone and naked. I sit like this for 5 years before I realize I don't belong in this painting. No more than I belong in my dad's. I'm not the subject of the artist. I am the artist. The page and the stage are my canvas. The pen is my brush. The words are my colors. And I vow, this won't just be my passion. This will be how I make my living. Years later, when my dad dies suddenly of an aortic aneurysm, I don't go to his funeral. We said our goodbyes many years ago. I didn't need to. My brother, who goes, calls me upset because in our dad's home, there are no photographs of us on his walls. But I don't have any photographs of my dad in my house, so kind of seems fair. Except now I have this photograph of me as a baby, sitting in my dad's lap, my body facing him, but I'm looking in the other direction, and in his eyes, there is all the love that you're supposed to see when a father is looking at his child. And I have to ask myself, what am I gonna do? Put this up on my wall? The room doesn't shift. I'm still in my body. And I'm still unsure if my answer is going to be no. Thank you.